Hey, you guys. Hello, hello. I realized just a second ago that I forgot to turn on my light, but I think it's too bright. How's that? Um, I took down some of the decorations because I was recording some other videos, but now it looks like it's a big mess. So I apologize, but happy Friday. Welcome back, everybody. Oh my gosh, I need it to be Friday. I'm so glad that it's Friday. I'm excited for the weekend. I am probably going to be doing some Q2 review for myself this weekend. So if you don't watch my Heart Breathings channel, I'm actually going to move this microphone a little bit closer to me. So if I mess up the cord, just let me know if it gets crackly, as it has been known to do. There, hopefully that's good, because I don't want to be like leaning in. But anyway, I have, you guys saw when I was doing the Witch's Key, I have this big Kanban board back here where I basically track my my tasks that I'm doing on my sticky notes. And this is a major productivity system that I've been using and kind of pulled pieces from to create my own system. And I feel like I've really done a great job this quarter as I start to look back on. So I plan every 90 days. So I have, three months at a time. So this has been April, May, and June. And I'm so happy because when this quarter started, we had just started the Witch's Key, and I was realizing that it was going to be longer than I thought and was, working that in. But it's just that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I published a book this quarter for the first time in a year and a half. So I feel like, yay, like all the confetti should be falling. I need some champagne, everything. So yeah, I'm excited for that. Darn it, I keep forgetting about grabbing the Witch's Key. Hold on just a second. So I have officially, so I showed you guys this paperback that is the one that was the proof for Amazon. And I probably will also give this one away at some point for now. And it actually looks fine on the preview, but on this part, they kind of made this too big. Now, I've heard from some other people that it was fine when they ordered it, but I just wanted the cover artist to kind of fix it and make it smaller so I know that it would be just right. So now we have the official final version of the Witch's Key, and it doesn't have that issue. So hopefully if you already ordered one from Amazon, you didn't get one that had a box here. I've been told that it didn't actually show up on any of the orders, but hopefully. But I have it. It looks good. I've gone through all the pages. Everything looks fine. So I have officially placed an order. I haven't placed it. I am going to officially place an order for the 118 copies that were the signed copies. So the clock will start today in terms of when they come on. So I'm excited, but it could be a couple weeks. It just depends how long it takes Amazon to print them. But according to the back of the book, it says that it's printed in Columbia, South Carolina, which is only a couple hours from here. So I think it should be a relatively quick journey back to me here, hopefully. And as soon as I get those in, I will let you guys know about some live signings and things like that. I'm also going to be ordering, I don't know, at least 20 extras, I think, that we can do for giveaways and maybe for special sales, or I don't know. But I think since I'm ordering such a huge amount, I will just order some extras. So we'll see. Thank you guys for saying I look nice or different. It's probably the hair, just because I usually curl it, because I feel like my hair is super fine. So even though it's long, because I haven't had it, sorry, people walking by my window. Even though it's long because I haven't had it cut in, we'll just say the last time I had my hair cut was before my last book came out. So it's been a long time. So it's just kind of like, I don't know. I just have fine hair. So even as I talk on camera, if I feel like it starts to like, and it bothers me. And somebody was like, you should get your hair cut. you're always messing with it. So I'm like super nervous about messing with my hair too much. So I try to curl it, but I didn't have time today. It's too busy of a day. So Teutonics, it doesn't look fine. It looks fluffy and soft. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for the compliments. I feel like I needed it today. It has been a long and emotional week. I saw Laura say that. And I'm not on StreamYard today. I'm just live on YouTube, like organically. So I can't bring up people's comments, but I kind of miss it because I was like, oh, I should just like click on someone and bring your comment up to the top. So I will in the future hopefully be pre-setting up and going live through that StreamYard thing so I can bring your comments up, because I think that might be a better experience too for the people that are watching the replay, because you can still see the chat as it's going by on the replay, but it might be cool since I'm answering questions to be able to pull them up on the screen. But we'll see. So I'm so glad to see that a lot more of you have been getting your Sir Bean merchandise in, because I know that it has been quite a long time coming to get some of those things in for you guys. I didn't show you yet because it's actually turned out to be just a little bit too small on me, but I got the women's tri-blend tee because as part of like when they give you a Teespring, they give you like some little rewards every once in a while, or at least they used to. I think they're going to stop doing it. And one of the rewards for selling so many things was that they gave us a free item. So the first free item we got was, I think George got a hoodie. And then the second free item that we were able to get, I got the women's tri-blend tee that's gray. And I want to show it to you guys, but I can put it on, but it doesn't look that great. So we're going to wait until I lose a little bit of weight to share that shirt with you. But yeah, the mug is going to be cool. And I probably, like I said, once we get ready to start season 2 of The Witch's Key, I'm going to have some things like we'll see if we can run some special sales, and we'll do some giveaways and some other special stuff as we get ready for season 2, which hopefully maybe by the end of July or August, we'll just kind of see. All right. So yeah, Vanessa, have you thought about using StreamYard all the time? I think I will from now on, because first of all, you guys can let me know, but StreamYard allows me to schedule it. So you guys saw from Beautiful Demons episode 1 and 2 that I was able to schedule that I had a broadcast coming up, and then you could kind of go ahead and like the broadcast or sign up for a reminder, and I could post the actual link in the Coven. Then 30 minutes ahead of time, it sent you hopefully another reminder or notification here on YouTube that said Sarah Cannon's going live in 30 minutes. So I think that I, should do that just to make it easier and more convenient for you guys. But I just didn't do it today because I was literally just rushing down to get here. Plus I did need to take just a second to make some coffee. This is my 3rd cup of coffee today, but the first cup of coffee I didn't get to drink because Evie grabbed it and spilled it all over. And it was not still hot, thank goodness. I wouldn't let her near a hot cup of coffee, but it was like an hour old and I was still drinking it. I feel like life as a mom sometimes, or even as somebody who works from home, it's like you're constantly heating up your coffee throughout the day because you forget to drink it. I don't know. I'm going to end up with milk on my lip. Yes, it was terrible, Laura. It was awful. All right. So I have a few questions, and I did see a question coming by about how did you get started in writing? So I missed it. I'm not sure. I don't want to spend time going back to look for it, but you can say it was me. So I have maybe 5 or 6 questions from the Coven. Beth, not a mom, but my coffee lasts about 8 hours. Yeah, I feel like even if you just work from home or you're working at a desk, when you get working or even just watching TV, it's like you forget to go back and to finish it off and drink it all. So Christabel, we are ordering you a new shirt, and I need to make a note of that because I haven't done it yet. And I saw your email about that. So yes. It is also on my list this weekend. I mentioned to you guys that it's probably been over a year since maybe not over a year, because I just ordered these books once we moved to this house, and we've been in this house for about a year. But anyway, I owe Christabel a lot of paperbacks just as a thank you for all of her help on the coven and everything. If you guys are in the coven, then you know how much she helps with answering questions and stuff. It's just like super important to me, and I appreciate it with all my heart. So I need to share my appreciation by actually sending these books out to her. But if you're not in Sarah Cannon's coven, what are you waiting for? You guys, we just passed 3,000 people in the Facebook group, and this makes me so happy because I feel like it's a happy place for me online, and just a place where I can always come in and feel supported and feel like, you guys are my people, and I just really appreciate that. All right, so I see some questions coming in, like any tips on blurbs, and then what's on the t-shirt, I'll show you in a second, and then how long did it take you to write Beautiful Demon? So Callie, I did talk about this, I think on Wednesday, or it could have been last week. Somebody tell me, but I'll talk about that again in just a minute. Okay, so this shirt, this is another one from Tea Turtle, and it's like a little cat who's a gamer. I don't know if you can see the little gaming. It's like a little Xbox thing, and it says pew, pew, pew. Pew, pew, pew. I don't know. I love the Tea Turtle shirts, and when they're running sales, they're only like $10 or something, and that's amazing. So, okay, so maybe that was last Wednesday. We talked a little bit about how long it took me to write the books, but I'll talk about that again. So, let's see. One thing, so this one is, the first question was, how do you get free Erin Condren stuff? So I'm going to bring this up, but I'm going to bring it up super briefly because it has been a very heavy week, and there are, needless to say, I don't need to tell you guys, there are a lot of difficult things and a lot of transition and change in mindset and things that are happening in the world. And so there are just some adjustments that are being made, and some of them are difficult. So I do get a lot of free Erin Condren stuff. If you're not familiar with what Erin Condren is, it's stuff like this, like tons of planner stuff. These planners are quite pricey too. They're like, $40 to $50 for a planner, which is expensive. I will definitely, dropped my sticky notes. I will definitely say, but I do get some free stuff from Erin Condren. And the way that came about, just for those of you that are curious, is I was already using Erin Condren planners since 2015, 2014, something like that. And I love the products. I love the quality of it and everything else. And, when I started getting a YouTube channel, so not this YouTube channel, but my Heart Breathing's YouTube channel, and I started getting more and more subscribers, I reached out to Erin Condren through their affiliate program to apply to be an affiliate, meaning that when I talk about their products, I can share links. And then if people buy something from my link, I get 10% of the purchase. So I was only sharing the Erin Condren stuff because I was already using it and loved it so much. So this was just like a way to continue to share, but also in exchange for being an affiliate and sharing stuff, they send me free things. So very good, amazing, love it. However, this is where the heavy part comes in. And like I said, I don't want to silence anybody and what they want to say, of course, but at the same time, this coffee chat is really, I really need it for a stress reliever, and I'm sure that you do too. So I don't want to get into the conversation too much about it. But Renee had also asked, how am I feeling today, considering what's going on with EC? And that is just that if you want to go look it up online, you can look it up. But Erin Condren's children graduated from high school last week. And even though the county told them that they couldn't gather, they gathered anyway without masks under the guise of a protest. They did not bill it as a Black Lives Matter protest, but it has that kind of connotation because they got the idea from attending a Black Lives Matter protest the week before. I don't really want to talk too much about my thoughts on this. I've discussed it on my Instagram at Heart Breathing's blog. And it's just super disappointing, her behavior. And I don't honestly know what my future of affiliate status with them is going to be. And just to mention something super selfish, I understand in comparison with what's going on, is their Hello Kitty collab is literally like probably days away. And now I'm not even sure I want to review it right now. So small issue, but it still makes me sad. So I'm disappointed. I also, I think that this is a super polarizing issue. People have lots of different opinions on it. So for me, the last couple of days, after expressing my opinions, because a lot of people know how much I love Erin Condren. So then when they hear that this happened, they associate it with me. So of course we have to talk about it, but there's also like people in my audience that I love and appreciate that feel very different about this. Some people think it's no big deal. Some people think that I should just immediately burn all my Erin Condren. Somebody emailed me that. So there's just it's very polarizing, and I respect everybody's opinion, but it's just like, oh my gosh, I need a break from all of the messages, because I've probably gotten 500 or 600 DMs and emails about this over the last 2 days, and I'm exhausted. But my official stance, and thank you, Renee, for asking how I was feeling, because that was very thoughtful. Scribbling cat, burn that much money. I mean, no, there will be no burning of it for me, because I don't feel like that. I appreciate anyone whose thoughts is get rid of it, because I understand why you would be upset. However, I have this stuff. I have systems that are created around using this stuff, and it's not going to hurt her if I destroy it. It's only going to hurt me. And I also feel like, just because it's Erin Condren, she's kind of like a figurehead of the company, but she's not the CEO. I don't even think she owns it fully herself anymore. She's kind of just like the face of the company, but there are hundreds of people who work for her, many of which are people of color, many of whom are people of color. And I think that pulling your business from them because of her stupid actions, I'm torn by it, but I just want to say I do listen and hear everyone's opinion, even if it greatly differs from mine. But some people have been extremely aggressive toward me and my opinions, and they have every right to do that. However, I need a break from it. So I just didn't want to turn this discussion into a discussion about that, but I do appreciate that you asked about it. And I don't really know what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep and use the things that I have, which is going to take me all the way through next July. I also have made a decision that I'm going to donate my affiliate earnings from the month of June, which is about $400, to an organization that is oh gosh, now I need to look it up and see if I have it on my tab here, because I don't want to get it wrong. I kind of did some research on various organizations, and I'm going to donate it to the National Congress of Black Women, which is a nonprofit organization that supports like Black teens going to college and women entrepreneurs and things like that. So this is just something that I, wanted to do for myself. But anyway, moving on to something more joyful. If you do want to look it up, you can. And I will talk more if you're interested in more of how my feelings are about it, because I do feel like it's complicated. And I don't want to say the wrong thing or make anyone angry, because I mostly just want to lift people up all the time. So, I will discuss it probably on my mid-year planner video kind of thing. So thank you for the support. I love you guys. I appreciate everyone's opinions. And I just hope that through all of this kind of, I don't know exactly how to say it other than transformation that our country and the world is going through right now, and through the pandemic and everything, that we can just try our best to continue lifting people up and taking an eye of love and appreciation and listening and learning, rather than, negative feelings. I don't know how else to say it. So anyway, let's start talking about some other things that are fun. So somebody asked just a minute ago, how long did it take you to write Beautiful Demons? So I'm going to mention that just real quick, because we did talk about it, I think, last Wednesday. So it took me So I started it towards the end of July and published it in October, or early August, and published it in October. So it took me a couple of months to write that book, and then about a couple of weeks to revise it. But book 2, Inner Demons, only took me 6 weeks to write and revise, and then 2 months for the third book in the series. So those 3 came out really, really fast. So overall, it took me, let's see, August to September, October, November, December, January, February. I still have to count on my fingers. But Bitter Demons came out 6 months after I started writing book 1. So I wrote and published those 3 books in 6 months. And that is, other than 2 years ago, when I published 5 books in 1 year, that is the fastest I've ever written a book. Or written several books in a row. Usually since then, it has taken me at least 4 to 5 months to write a book at minimum. And then I've had a couple of times in my career where I've gone almost 2 years before I've written another book. So overall, this October will be 10 years since I published Beautiful Demons. But coming up in July is 10 years since I started writing that book. I have written and published 25 novels, and I have written about 3 or 4 other novels during that time that I just never quite finished. So, and LA Long says, now your books are a lot longer, right? And that's a good point. So Beautiful Demons is only about 45,000 words. DF Tech Writer also asked, are the first 3 books about the same word count? So book 1, and you can actually see them. I'll go grab it again. You guys are going to see me run a couple times. So since I have this stack of books here, let's pull them out. So you can see sort of the length. So they're all very similar, but I don't have them in order there. So this is Beautiful Demons. It's about 45,000 words. Inner Demons is maybe about 52, and then Bitter Demons is around 56,000. So they got just a little bit longer as they went on. But when you get to, I don't have actually the same, it's the same interior, but different. So Shadow Demons gets a little bit longer, and then a little bit longer for Rival Demons. And actually, Demons Forever is my longest book of all time. It's 120,000 words. So then when you go on to book 7, it actually got a little shorter. So it got down to like 87,000. And then most of the rest of them have been about 100,000 words. So yes, most of the more recent books are twice as long, if not more than twice as long as that first book. So that's probably why it's also taking longer. But hey, Moana. So it also is a case of the story gets more complex. I feel like when you're just starting out, you do have those world building questions and the characters to decide and that sort of thing. But once you get going on that first book, it's much more simple. Then when you get to like book 5 of a long series, you've got all these things that have happened in the past that you have to take into consideration. You're trying to grow the characters. You're still trying to create an interesting mystery that surprises everybody. And so it just gets harder and harder the longer you go. So yeah, I think that's part of why it was easier or faster to write the first few. So Momo Keen said, how did your beginning sales do after you published your first book? And this goes in line, hand in hand with some of the other questions in the coven. So Emmy had asked, how long did it take you before you started making a living off your books? And how many books did you have published by the time that happened? So, and then Tracy Mayhew, I loved this question, the way she worded it. She's like, how did your books get your books known to people in the beginning? Was it based on organic growth or ads or magic? I like the idea that it was just magic. Hey, Nikki. Oh my gosh. I'm glad to see you here. So the first, I didn't look up these numbers specifically for today's chat, but it is on my blog. So I published a thing maybe 5 years into my self-publishing. Let me go. Okay, start over. Let me say that better. I used to, on my sarahcannon.com/blog, every year on my indie anniversary, I would post my numbers of sales for authors to see kind of how my career was going, why, I would give sort of tips on how to sell books and that sort of thing. I haven't done that the last few years, but I did do it for a while, and that has a lot of that information on there. So I will post that to the coven if I remember, so that you can see the exact numbers, because I'm probably not going to get them exactly right. But I counted my first year income as that October to the following October, because even though you make money in October, you don't actually get paid until January. You get paid like 2 months after. So my first income, even though I published in October of 2010, my first actual money didn't start coming in until January. So I just counted that as my 2011 income, and that was my first full year. So my first full year of self-publishing, I made somewhere around $45,000 to $55,000. I can't remember exactly, but it was really amazing. For a first year, it was way, way more than I ever expected. And I was totally blown away. Now, the first 2 books, and this plays into both questions, the first 2 books that came out in October and then December were 99 cents only. So when you publish a book that's only 99 cents, you only make 35 cents a copy. So you would have to sell a lot of copies to make $50,000 off of 35 cents. But the reason that I did that was a couple of different things. A lot of people criticized me for that, but I think it ended up being a really good choice. Because in my mind, I was thinking, okay, I am a brand new author. Nobody's ever heard of me. I'm coming out with no traditional publisher behind me. I'm just an author all by myself. And back then, I've told you guys this before, back then there were not a lot of indie publishers. There were mostly traditionally published book and just a handful of people who were doing it on their own. And so there just wasn't a lot of there was no BookBub or other type of email services. There were no Facebook ads. It was just, you just tried to find out how, tried to push your book in front of readers. And I figured the very best way to do that would be to price my books low, because when you look on Amazon, and at this time people were just starting to get Kindles. Kindles had only been around for a handful of years. And when you look on Amazon, or the Barnes & Noble Nook had just come out, I think in 2010 or 11. And when you looked there were a lot of books for like $14, but there weren't very many books for only $1. And I thought, well, that's how I can get people to try my books for the first time, is I'll just charge $1 for it, and I won't worry about making money. I just want people to read my story and see if they like it. So I did the 99-cent first book. I also decided to do the second book for 99 cents, which a lot of people that were doing the 99-cent first book in the beginning would price their second book at full price. But I knew that second book was coming out really fast. It was almost Christmas. And I was thinking, you know what, if they get a chance at their Christmas, they're going to get gift cards and different things like that. If I can give them 2 books for $2, then they'll be locked into my series and they'll have really given it a chance. And if they like my writing, I know more people will buy the third book. And so I took that risk also and put the second book at 99 cents, hoping that the Christmas holidays would kind of push me up to have so many more readers. And it worked. I had thousands of books sold that December and in January. And then it's kind of a funny story, because I finished writing Bitter Demons in February, and we published it. George would do my formatting. I published the book. This is also when I had changed the covers to the newer covers, which were like the middle ones. These covers, I had changed them to these covers. So I kind of did like a relaunch, and everything was trying like all this new stuff. And I finished it. I was exhausted. I had been working nonstop basically for 6 months on trying to get this career going, and sales were starting to pick up. So I said to George, let's just get away for the weekend. I'm going to publish the book on Thursday or whatever it was. Why don't you take Friday off? Let's go to the beach somewhere. At the time we were living in like Raleigh, North Carolina area. We didn't have any kids. And so he's like, yeah, let's go. And I think we went to like Wilmington, North Carolina or something, somewhere on the beach, or like Wrightsville Beach or something like that. And so I checked my sales at the hotel, and there were like, for book 3, there were something like, I don't know, 10 or 15 sales that morning. And that was super exciting. And I was like, gosh, at this point I had priced the book for $2.99. And so with a $2.99 book, you get a 70% royalty. So that means for every $2.99 book, I make about $2. So I was like, oh my gosh, I just made $20 in a day. This is so crazy. I was so excited about that. So we go out to dinner. We went to a bar. We went and walked the beach, like, all of these kinds of things. And it was super fun. And I wasn't even checking my sales. I don't even think I had like a smartphone back then. It just, I'm like, gosh, is that true? Yeah, I think that was true. And so when we got back to the hotel, we were like really tired. We'd probably eaten too much food and we're just ready to go to bed. But I was like, well, I'm going to get on my laptop and check my sales just real quick. And I thought there had to be an error. I was reading the number and I kept like refreshing the page, and George was like, what's going on? And I was like, he's like, is there something wrong? Did you get an email? Was the book taken down? He thought something bad had happened because I was like, and he always assumes when I make that noise that something terrible has happened. And I just started crying and I was like, oh my gosh, because I had like 300 something sales. And so in my mind, I was just sitting there trying to calculate that, like, did I just seriously make $600 in a single day? And 300 people just bought my book like on day one. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. And over the course of that month, the first month of release, I sold over 3,000 books. And to go from making nothing for like 4 years as I was trying to learn to be a writer and trying to understand how to write a book, and tried and failed and started new things and gave up. And all these people, you have to remember, like, the majority of people in my life who were very well-meaning writers were telling me this is the worst thing you could ever do to self-publish. No agent or publisher will ever touch you after this. The only people who self-publish are people who don't know how to write, like all this kind of stuff. And so it was just one of those life-affirming moments of, oh my gosh, I'm doing this. And I think that was the moment, that night at that hotel was the moment where I realized I can do this. Like, people like the book, because nobody would have bought book 3 if they didn't like books 1 and 2. And I see people like, oh my God, I would have fainted. I think I didn't sleep that whole night because I think that I was just over the moon excited about it. And, I know that sometimes talking about money and stuff can be uncomfortable, but I think it's also inspiring to see what else can happen. Because, the first couple of months with those 99-cent books, even though I would sell like 1,000 copies, I was only making like $350, which I don't mean to say only, because $350 made on books that you wrote is still crazy amazing. And so I was super proud of that. But when you start to see those numbers of thousands of dollars coming in a month, it just felt like our whole life had changed. And it had, it really had. Then it took me, let's see. So the next book came out in July, I think July 7th, or no, July 3rd, I think. So that's, y'all are going to think I'm crazy because I have to count on my fingers. I'm sorry. So February to March, April, May, June, July. So it took me about 5 months, not quite, 4.5 months to write and publish and edit. And at this point, I had the newer-ish covers. I also, at this point, had sent the first 3 books off to a professional editor, because as soon as I saw that I had the money to afford it, I knew there were typos in the books and that I wanted to get them fixed. And so I sent it off to an editor and was having those books redone, and I was writing the next book and all of these things. Okay, coffee, hold on. Story time, coffee chat with Sarra. But also, just to kind of weave this stuff in, because this is a part of our experience for sure. Also in October of 2010, George and I had been trying, hey, George is here. Hi, baby. Also in October of 2010, George and I had been trying for a little bit less than a year to have a baby. So we'd been trying basically since we got married. We had been together for years before that. And we were trying to have a baby. I have PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is often infertility. And I had a lot of doctors telling me I'd probably never be able to have children. So, of course, you got to start all these like life-changing things all at once. But in October of 2010, also while I was publishing my first book, we also started Infertility Treatments. And it was very personal, and we were kind of quiet about it because it's one of those things of, that can be difficult to share. And So if you've never been through that, which I hope and pray that you have not, it's very emotional. You're in and out of the doctor's office literally twice a week, 3 times a week. And, it's body examinations and poking and prodding and lots of little things like that. Lots of shots and hormones going into your body. And it's like a year plus of every single month taking that pregnancy test and being upset about seeing that there's no line. And so I had been going through all of that as well. So fast forward, we had this amazing, exciting month of, you guys, the lighting on this thing. I need to see if I can figure out how to not make it, but it's like, now there's a light on my face. But in that period between February and July, when I was writing Shadow Demons, I had a lot of kind of issues with plotting and stuff like that because we were deep into the infertility treatments. And at this point, nothing was working. And our doctor was like, basically, if you ever have a shot, it's going to be IVF. And that is a big process and it's very expensive. And there's just a lot of things that go on to it. And it's very hard on a woman's body to go through that. And it was also one of those things in my head where I was like, this is kind of our last chance. And I don't want to be told that I can never have babies, because it was something that I really wanted. So I was going through all that at the same time. And so we had decided that we were going to do IVF starting in September or very early October of that year. So we decided to take the summer off of fertility treatment so that I could lose some weight because all of the hormone treatments had given me, you just pack on weight with those treatments. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself the best shot of this working. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to lose some weight. And then we'll see in the fall, what happens with pregnancy. So as a treat to ourselves, and this does actually go back to the publishing story, as a treat for ourselves in July for George's birthday, which is coming up soon, we decided to go back to Vegas, which is where we had gotten married. And we went for a 10-day trip because George had to take time off from his job anyway, or you would lose it, would lose the time. So we were like, we're just going to go to Vegas for 10 full days. We're going to just enjoy ourselves, no stress. But I needed to get that book published first. So we published that book. It was somewhere around July 4th or July 5th or 6th or 7th, something like that. And we hopped on a plane. I mean, I literally pressed publish on Shadow Demons, and then we hopped on a plane and headed to Vegas. And that was another one of those situations where I was like, hopefully, because you always get nervous every new book that like, what if not as many people liked book 3 and now nobody buys book 4? I don't know what's going to happen. So it was another one of those situations. We got on a plane, we were gone all day. We got, to the hotel and we checked in and we ended up getting upgraded to this amazing like corner suite at the Aria for free. It was an incredible trip. And I saw those numbers coming in again. And it was more like 1,000 books sold in a day. And I think this book was also still $299. His birthday is July 11th. So we're coming up on it. But it was like, oh my gosh, did I just make $2,000 in a day? And we were in Vegas. So we're like, let's go to dinner. Let's go celebrate. Let's go get some drinks. Let's go gamble for a little bit. Cause we just needed the break for sure. And when those sales started coming in, it was just incredible. And at that point, that month was my best month that I had ever had in terms of sales. And I made something like $13,000 in the month of July that year. And it just continued to go up from there. So not every month, even now, I don't always make $13,000 because I haven't had a new book and the market's changed and things have changed for sure. So it's up and down. And once you're in indie publishing, it's not like stair steps where it's like, oh, if you hit $1,000, you're guaranteed $1,000 for life, because it's just not how it works. You just, when you publish, you just continue on and you continue on and you continue on. And you have good months and you have bad months. And I'm not trying to be insensitive to the chat. I do see that there's chat going by, but I haven't read everything. So I know this can be a difficult conversation about infertility and things like that. But it was just part of our journey and part of our story. And then we did end up conceiving Andrew. And we had him in June the following year. And because of that, so I published Rival Demons in January of 2012, had Andrew in June, and it took me all the way through December before I finished Demons Forever. So that at that point was the longest stretch of time, was nearly a year between books 5 and 6. But book 5, Rival Demons, actually made it onto several best-selling books of the year lists. And it's the only book I've ever had that made it onto like the best top 100 books. Actually, I take that back a little bit, but it's the only one that's ever made it onto Amazon's top 100 best-selling books of the year. So at the end of the year, every year, Amazon does like some lists that are like the top 100 mystery books that sold on Amazon this year, or the top 100, whatever. And that year they did when they did their list for top 100 best-selling books in young adult. And this is not just indie books. This is just books in their whole store. My book was on there at like number 95. And I just couldn't believe it. And I know that it was partially because that book came out in January and it had the whole year to sell books, but I was super, super proud of that. And then when Demons Forever came out, people had been waiting for it for a very long time. And so I think that added to the excitement. But that book came out just a few days before Christmas, December 21st on 2012. And I almost hit the top 100 best-selling books on Amazon, but I just missed it. I made it to like 112 in the Kindle store and then started falling from there, which is, in terms of sales rank, my biggest best-selling book on launch day of all time. So that was kind of my like 2-year journey for publishing the first 6 books of the Demon series. And I didn't publish anything outside of the Demon series during those 2 years. That was my focus. And so when you ask, like, how did you get your books known to people in the beginning? There are a number of things. One is that I had fast releases in the beginning. So people had something to pick up really quickly. And it's not always possible because we can't always write super fast. But if you can hold books back to rapid release the first couple, I think that can help you. However, there are a lot of authors these days that are like holding back 5 or 6 books and then rapid releasing all 6. And I think that there are some downsides to that too. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on whether you should rapid release, there is a video on my Heart Breathings channel that talks about that. But I think that helped, the rapid release stuff. I also think having the first 2 books at 99 cents really helped. And then later, I did set the first book for free also. And then after that, I set the first 3 books free. And yes, I saw somebody ask, is that why you offer them for free? So once I started having like 7, 8, 9 books, I was like, okay, you know what? It's great for people to grab that first book for free. But then when they get in, they're spending $2 and $3.99 on a book. So, you're looking at $27+. And I know that's nothing compared to what you guys spend or we all spend on traditionally published books. But sometimes people just aren't willing to spend that much money on an indie book that they've never read before, or an indie author they've never read before. So I thought, you know what, offering the first 3 books for free, because they're so short, will really give people a good intro to the series without having to spend any money. And then if they don't like it, they can move on. But if they love it, they can move on to the next book for only 99 cents. And then my hope is that by then they're hooked and they have to buy the rest. My evil plan. So it actually has worked out really well. So that is why I have those first 3 books free. But I think that Tracy asked, was it based on organic growth or ads? So I'm trying to remember when I took out my first like advertising type stuff, probably in 2012. So it was almost exactly 2 years after I started publishing before I even spent any money advertising at all. So for the most part, it was just completely organic. And I mentioned this before, there were a few book bloggers like Julie at Tale of Two Reviews and some others who picked up my books and read them and recommended them. So they weren't necessarily organic and it wasn't exactly ads, but it was definitely word of mouth, is some of the bloggers sharing it. Did my screen, is it just me, or did it suddenly turn kind of green? I think the sky went dark and it's probably going to rain. So, ooh, it's like spooky. Maybe it's just showing that way on my screen. But I think that, a free book at the beginning of your series can really help. Nowadays, there's Kindle Unlimited, and I've had discussions about this like till I'm blue in the face. But Kindle Unlimited is a different kind of thing because you get basically as many books as you want to read for $10, and you don't really own them. You're just borrowing them, kind of like from a library or whatever, sort of like Netflix. And that's great for readers, not super great for authors. And I won't really go into it other than to say they don't pay authors. Like if I sell a book for $4.99, they pay me $3.75 for that book, like, and Amazon gets the rest of it. But when you're in Kindle Unlimited, they pay you per page that a reader reads rather than for the whole book. And the amount they pay per page is less than a penny. So there are some authors who make money in Kindle Unlimited, but overall, for the author community, I would say it decreased people's income because so many readers now are in that program. They're not buying books anymore for full price, and it hurts authors. And that's just my opinion. There are other people who disagree with that, and they love Kindle Unlimited, but the majority of authors were hurt by it. So, plus I don't want to go into Kindle Unlimited because they demand that you're exclusive. And I have too many readers that don't want to read on Amazon, and I just don't want Amazon to own my whole career. So that's my little spiel about that. I want to have a career where my books are available everywhere as much as possible. So I leave them wide is what we call it instead of exclusive. But because I choose not to be exclusive with Amazon, I can't participate in their Kindle Unlimited program. So anyway, a little bluer. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened. We'll just enjoy the bluish green tint. I don't know. I could try to change my lighting. I feel like it's just been kind of, is that better or worse? I don't know. So that is my super long spiel. So I made about somewhere around $50,000 that first year. Then the second year was like $78,000. And then my third year, by the third year, I made like $98,000 my third year. So I kind of just go ahead and call that my first six-figure year because I figured 2,000 away from it, it's all good, right? And then ever since then, I've made more than six figures every single year that I've been self-publishing. And I don't say that to brag. I just share it to show that you can do this yourself and you can be successful. It's not easy. I know that in a lot of ways I got lucky, but in a lot of ways I just wrote from my heart and people enjoyed it. I have never been one to like take out a bunch of Facebook ads or a ton of like Amazon ads or anything like that. But I have had some BookBub ads, and I'm sure that most of you know what BookBub is, but if you don't, it's amazing and you should probably sign up for it. But BookBub is basically a newsletter list and a website where they will tell you about free books and deals, like 99-cent deals and sales on books that you can sign up for different genres. And that is one of the most powerful ways to market your books because it, like that free book box set, when I did my first ad, basically BookBub ad, and they sent it out and some of you guys may not know this, actually, I'm like pulling back the curtain on the author community for those of you that are just readers, but authors aren't just randomly chosen for that. We have to apply for those ads and then we have to pay for placement in that newsletter. So it's no accident when your books show up there. It's like you pay for that and it's advertising. But it is very difficult to get I don't know if you guys heard that. It was like something hit the house. It is very difficult to pay or to get a BookBub ad because they'll have like 2,000 books all being applied for the same, genre for the same day. So you have to, I think it was thunder. Did you guys hear that? Yeah. Ooh, zombies. Don't start with me, Momo Keen. I've been reading Sarra's Gift. So you have to pay for that placement. So at the same time, you've got ads that you can run and different things like that. And for me, that very first time I ran the Beautiful Demons box set in a Facebook or in a BookBub ad, I think I got something like 80,000 downloads that month. So that means 80,000 people across the world downloaded that book. Now, only a small percentage of them will actually read it, because if you're a reader, you understand, like, you download a lot of books for free that you don't necessarily get time to read. And there's probably people that picked it up and didn't like it, but that introduced thousands of new people to my book. And that is one of the most valuable things that you can do as a writer. And DF Tech Writer said that sounds as though BookBub is the best bang for your advertising buck. And it absolutely is in certain circumstances. I find personally that a BookBub on a free book is way more valuable, even though it costs less money, than a BookBub for a 99-cent book. But that's just my thoughts. And I do talk about that some in my Publish and Thrive course, but it's, it is a really good thing to do. So Christabel said, I saw yours on Facebook. Is that where you discovered me, Christabel, was a Facebook ad? So I have only ever, I think, run, other than like a boosted post, I've only ever run like one Facebook ad. And there are a lot of authors who run their whole marketing campaign through like thousands of dollars a month on Facebook ads. And I have only ever had one Facebook ad that was like a real Facebook ad. I won't say only ever, but like I've only taken out a handful, and there's one that's been running for like 5 years now. And I just leave it up for like $3 a day, that has a picture of like a creepy girl and it says, don't trust the popular girls. So that may be the one that you saw. And that one's just been running for a long, long time. And a lot of people have discovered me. Thousands of people have discovered me from that one Facebook ad. It's probably time that I like sat back and like discovered new Facebook ads or created new Facebook ads and got really into the marketing. But just as a little bit of a speech about my viewpoints here, I think that a lot of other authors who teach about how to be successful in this business will tell you that you have to take out all of these ads. You have to spend thousands of dollars a month marketing your books. You have to have huge, platforms on social media, and you have to be marketing all the time. And a lot of people will tell you that. And a lot of people will tell you that you have to be in Kindle Unlimited or you can't be successful. A lot of people will tell you that you have to publish your books very quickly or you can't be successful. And while all of those things might help, it doesn't mean that you can't be successful just doing it your way. And there is no like one path. And there are, you could take 100 different writers and have them do exactly the same thing in terms of they all spend $1,000 on Facebook ads. They all spend, they all put out 2 books in 2 months. They all do this, this, and this. And you would still end up with like 5 of them would be very successful and the rest would hardly sell anything. And so it's not like there's just like this blueprint that you can follow and you're automatically going to be successful. And if there were, we would all love that because it would be amazing, right? So Roseanne said, if you're just starting out though, do you feel like it's possible to build an organic audience? So I feel like back in 2010, it was, it's kind of hard to compare because back then we didn't have as many resources. So everything was organic. Now, sometimes it is harder to build an organic audience because there is so much advertising being thrown at readers that it's difficult to get noticed in the algorithms and on Amazon and everything else without a little bit of help. So it can be difficult to build an organic audience, but it's not impossible. And I have a set of videos over on my YouTube Heart Breathings channel that's all about how to build an anchor series. And if you go and watch that, some of you I know have already seen it, but that anchor series video set, it's like 5 or 6 videos on that, is probably my best advice for how to build an organic audience. And, like I have a YouTube channel. If you started a YouTube channel, that might work for you. Wattpad works for some people, especially in like romance or teen books. But, even with having a big YouTube following does not mean that people are going to love your books. And there are some AuthorTuber people here on AuthorTube on YouTube that have large followings, but they don't sell a lot of books because I don't know. I'm not going to criticize. But George says, write amazing books that people can't stop talking about. And that really is the way. And also have patience. If you want to build organically and you don't want to have to do all the ads, don't expect that you're going to be a bestseller overnight. It's going to take time. Like, for me, it took those 6 months till I started making some money, but it took me 3 years to start making 6-figure kind of money. But honestly, even if you can do this and make $10,000 a year, you're a huge, huge success. It is not easy, but it's not impossible either. But the main focus, it's hard to say the main focus should always be creating a book that people can't stop talking about, or that touches people in some way or resonates with people in some way. It doesn't have to be perfect. Mine has some typos. I think there are still typos in Beautiful Demons. I had a friend or a reader recently that went through them all again, reading them, and sent me a couple of typos here and there. So I need to fix those and get them out. So they just kind of always sneak through when you're doing it yourself, even though they've been edited professionally twice. So, readers will still give you a chance if the story is really good, Teutonic says, but when is it too late? I feel so old and feel like I can't catch up with the experience of other writers. It's never too late. It's never too late what is the C.S. Lewis quote? It's never too late to dream a new dream. Something like that. I don't know. I totally messed up that quote. I mean, I didn't even start writing until I was 30. And then I didn't start publishing until I was 33, which I know is not old, but I think that, you can start your 50s, 60s, 70s and still be hugely successful. And you can make it happen quickly if you put out books somewhat quickly. But I'd never think that people should push themselves beyond the point of what creates a good book, or beyond the point of what burns them out, even if you want to do something super fast. But I think you can do it. I think you can do it even if you're in your 70s or beyond, because it's never too late. It's never, ever too late to follow your dreams. And you know what? The older you are, the more life experience you have to draw from, which might mean that you have a better shot at really writing stories that resonate even with younger people because of your own personal experience. So go for it. Go for it for sure. Okay, so I wish that someone would make a video on how to tell authors that they need to have their book edited, not typos, but actual building the story, so that you don't come off as mean, but helpful. Yeah, I do kind of talk about this, Evelyn, in my How to Edit a Novel series over on Heart Breathings. I think that as a writer, we all need to understand what our oh, yay, Kayla. We all need to understand what our strengths and weaknesses are. If you're not sure how to put together a story, then you need help putting together a story. And you probably on your first few books need either a really good critique group like I had, or you need a developmental editor that will help you go, here's how a story is put together. Because sometimes, even though you've consumed a lot of stories, maybe you didn't maybe you don't know exactly what should happen next. And there's a structure to storytelling. And I hear a lot of young authors, or not young, but new authors say, I don't want to follow structure because it's going to inhibit my creativity. And all that means is I don't really know how to do it, so I'm just going to do it my way. And it really usually means I'm not going to write a great book, because unless you just have an intuitive instinct for storytelling, which some people do, you need to learn how to do it. Just like when you're learning to play the piano, you don't usually, unless you have just a natural gift for it, sit down and play a concerto. You have to learn, and it's a process. And so that's the same thing with writing books. There's a reason behind why structure works in a certain way, and why stories, it's an art. It's truly a craft. And, the more you learn about it, the better writer you will be. So there you go. C.S. Lewis, Kayla posted for us. You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. Love that. Oh my gosh. Beth says a lady in our writing group published her first book at 94. Woo woo. There you go. See, so important. So true. And Roseanne, one of my favorite things to tell writers, you shouldn't break the rules until you know the rules. And I actually take that a step further, and I say, you can't really effectively break the rules until you know them. And if you go and you are a fan at all of the Game of Thrones series, which I haven't actually read the books. I've only watched the movies. So that's the TV show, which is my little disclaimer there. But it's obvious, they're following George R. R. Martin's story to some degree, but it's obvious both the screenwriters and the original author new story structure because they're able to get you every single time with these twists and things that happen that are not typical of story structure in terms of character arcs, but they get you and it works and they keep you watching. If in the hands of a lesser writer, Game of Thrones would have been a terrible disaster, but it works because he knows story structure and he knows how to play on reader expectations. And if you ever enjoy my twists, the only reason I'm able to get you in those twists is because I know what you're expecting to happen. And I think and hope and pray that I've gotten better at them over time, but you need to understand the rules or the structure in order to understand, how it works. Momo Keen says, I'm a little nervous about the Wheel of Time show that's supposed to be coming out. I am too. So Amazon is doing the Wheel of Time in TV format. So we will see. We will see. I'm nervous too. All right. So hopefully that answered a lot of those questions. Christy also asked, how did you come up with the idea for Beautiful Demons series and how do you keep track of all the problems you have going on at once? So I've talked a lot about the Beautiful Demons series and how I came up with it, but just briefly, I will mention that I have a video about how I came up with this idea, so you can go check that out. But it basically, I was binge watching Veronica Mars and thought I wanted to write something similar, but with witches, and it kind of evolved from there. But how do you keep track of all the problems you have going on at once is more about a series Bible. So for authors, a series Bible is basically just a document of some kind that documents everything that's happened so far in the story, and like characters and their hair color and their history and magic systems and all that kind of thing. So I have that, and it's in a wiki online. So I have that private wiki that I can search for and tell. But also I have a notebook, of course. You know me, I've got a notebook. I have a notebook that also has what I call story threads written down in them. And I love the idea of having one place at the end of each book where I can like have a running list of, okay, so here's the things that I sort of started introducing as a mystery, but I haven't fully let you know about. So for example, for The Witch's Key, it would be something like Uncle Martin is definitely keeping some secrets. Maybe there's something going on with the basement of his house. What's going on there? So it would be just like a little note about that so that I don't forget it. And in fact, I will be going back through and doing a personal reread with George of the entire Demon series before I finish books 11 and 12 in terms of writing them, because I want to make sure that all those little story threads about the others and some of the stuff, this isn't spoilers, but it's just stuff you guys will learn about as you read if you haven't read it. It's those little things like the others, little characters that you may have seen here and there, the priestesses, all these different things. I want to make sure that anything that got mentioned and it seemed important gets answered in some way. So Lillian said, do you think characterization is more important than structure? I think that you could have the best, in some ways, yes, because I think you can have the best structure, the best story in the world in terms of story structure and everything, the pacing's good and everything else. But if people don't care about your character and what's happening to them, they won't read that book. So in a lot of ways, I think character is probably the most important thing in your book. And if people care about that character and what they're going through, they will read even if the story structure is a little bit off, in my opinion. Ooh, what's going on in the basement, Janie says. I wonder what her washi tape unlocks. Oh my gosh, you guys are crazy. All right, so Patty asked, how do you make the reader feel compassion for the villain in a book? When I read Sorrow's Gift, I felt sorry for the witch, even though she was bad. I also enjoyed your share at Wednesday's video. So we won't go too much into the witch's story. Obviously, from just the parts that I read to you, you kind of know, I mean, she kills someone in the first prologue, so you kind of know she's not the best, but you don't know much about her until you get further in. But I think that the way you build compassion, or the way you really can build a strong villain, is to do the same characterization, thoughts, and process that you do for the main characters. So if I'm sitting there thinking about Parrish and Crash and Noah and the main good guys, and I'm thinking about what motivates them, what's their story, what's their wound, like what have they been through in their lives, what do they care about, what are their goals in life? I ask myself all these questions. And even if some of their history doesn't come into the actual book itself, it's stuff that I know as an author of what moves them, what motivates them, what causes them to act, and what their history is. And I think you have to do the same thing with your villain. I think that when it comes to, even like when we go into the main villain that ends up being the overarching villain of the Shadow Demon saga, which I won't say more about, I have known what that person's long game is, what hurt them in the past, what made them want to take all these actions that have really secretly been influencing a lot of the series, if not the entire series. But none of that has really been blatantly said in the series yet, because that's not going to come in until books 11 and 12. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know for certain yet, but I'm pretty sure that in book 11, the identity of the main villain will come to light. But we'll just see how it comes in the writing. But I believe you'll find that out in book 11. But I already know what that person's motivation is. And I think that in order to write truly great villains, you have to see it from their point of view. Because somebody said at one point, even the villains think they're the hero of the story. That comes from somewhere. So if you know where, put it in the comments. But if your villain, like think about, have you guys seen the Avengers and all of that? Think about Thanos. I was like, what's his name? Think about Thanos. It's like he thinks he's doing the right thing because once you know his history of what happened to him, you know why he believes that what he's trying to do is the right thing. He thinks he's saving the world, not hurting it. And that makes you may not like him, but you understand him and you empathize, or, you say, I see why he feels that way. And I think it can add so much depth to a villain when you see their past pain and how that has influenced why they're acting this way. And I think that makes it great. And something that Emmy says, I still have no empathy for him. And it depends. Everybody's going to have their own experience based on theirs. But I felt empathy with him, and I didn't say, I think he's doing the right thing, but I could tell why he was doing it. And you can easily tell that he's convinced that he is doing the right thing. So anyway, like Malfoy, and she kind of has a little spoiler there, but we won't worry about that because it's been like a bazillion years since the Harry Potter books come out. But Malfoy is another one. And one of my favorite things to do is sometimes to kind of peek behind the curtain there with some of the villains and show you a little bit about, why they are the way they are, or a little tiny peek into a slight change, or like a vulnerability inside that villain. And I think that can be really interesting. So, Mo McKean said it allows you to see them as a person instead of a one-dimensional mustache twirling villain, which I love that too. So Lillian said, I'm having trouble with having a villain in my story, as in I don't have one, just an evil organization. So, maybe start thinking about who are the people inside that organization, and how can you make someone like a spotlight on that person, and why did they join that organization? A lot of times you can take that villain and write an entire backstory for them, and it starts to get really interesting. So yeah, kind of neat, I think. So that is all the questions that we had. I can't remember if somebody else asked something that I didn't get to. George R. Martin, nobody is a villain in their own story. We're all the heroes of our own stories. Kayla, you are on the quotes today. I love it. So yes, of course it was George R. R. Martin, because in his books, it's like, who is the hero? Who knows? So pretty crazy. But yeah, I truly, let me just say this before we go. I truly am grateful for every single person who has taken a chance to pick up one of my books. And even though we talk about numbers and it sounds, and it is a lot of money, and we have been super, super blessed with that for sure. I never ever take it for granted that I have this career. And I know that also the last couple of years have been a struggle. Ever since Kindle Unlimited came out, my income that year halved. So think about how hard it can be to lose half your income. But luckily, we still were able to kind of recover from it and come up with other ways to bring in money. But at the same time, I think that I never once have taken it for granted of the fact that a reader has this process and they have millions of authors and books to choose from. And when they see my books, they take a chance on it and then share it with other people and continue reading it. And the fact that you guys show up here, that means so much more to me. And I mean, the money is amazing too. And we all want to make money and be able to do this full time, which is what I'm so grateful for. But at the same time, it's just the fact that you guys are willing to take a chance on me and to support me in, all of these stories that I tell. It just means the world, because when I first got started, that was the whole reason behind it. Was I was so affected by books my whole life that it's like getting the chance to live in another world and getting the chance to feel like you're a part of something, or to see yourself in a book, or to see these characters rising over challenges and things like that. I wanted to bring that into the world as well for other people. And so just the fact that you guys take a chance on those books and are showing up here and everything just means the world to me. So thank you for letting me share. And Debbie's like, don't cry. I'm not going to cry. I'm going to be okay. I just am truly grateful. And that's the whole reason I started Heart Breathings too, is because I'm also passionate about helping other people get to the place where I am and hopefully beyond. So, Kay Hicks said something about people have asked about Malfoy. That was J.K. Rowling's answer, but I didn't see the answer. I missed it. I'm sorry. But anyway, I love you guys. I appreciate you. And, the last couple of years have been a challenge because I have not been writing as fast as I wanted to. And people take a chance on you, but that doesn't mean that because you get a reader, they're going to be your reader forever. And sometimes people give up on you when you don't publish books fast enough, and that can be heartbreaking. But I feel like the momentum is back in the writing, and I'm excited for what's coming next. So as always, I will continue on Monday and Wednesday next week of reading Beautiful Demons. So we'll be on episodes 3 and 4. If you haven't seen the reading of episodes 1 and 2, that was from earlier this week, and you can find them either on my main channel page, or I now have a playlist that's called Beautiful Demons that you can listen there as well. And then we'll continue on Monday and Wednesday. So I will go ahead after this and share or set it up in StreamYard so that you guys can actually sign up for notification or whatever on the post and be able to see it. And sorry that you guys didn't get to see Evie, but thank God she's asleep. I think George needed her to sleep because I worked so hard all day today. He had the kids all day. So I think he needed a break. But thank you guys for being here. We'll continue on that. In the meantime, I am going to order all of the Witch's Key books that we'll be sending for not for giveaways, for your orders that you made. Also, the book plates are being ordered. Everything's moving on that. And I'm going to be hopefully, having some updates as we continue on with Fate Surrender, which is the third book in the Eternal Sorrow series, which is my current work in progress. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much. Thank you for all the questions. I love the coffee chats. They mean so much to me. I've only had like 2 sips of my coffee, so I am going to go and finish it up. Thank you for keeping this positive space. Kay Hicks said, Sarah, is your P.O. box up to date? And yes, it is. So it's the one on John's Island. It should be down in the description box below for you. And that is my P.O. box. Thank you so much to everybody who has sent me some stuff. I think I mentioned some of the most recent things on our live stream earlier this week. So thank you guys for sending stuff. It really always brings a smile to my face. So I appreciate it. All right, you guys Debbie, don't spill it. I just can't let Evie anywhere near it. Oh, twice this week she's spilled it, but it's my fault really, because she's only 9 months old. All right, you guys, I love you all so much. Have an amazing weekend, and I will see you again on Monday for episode 3. Bye.